Okay, so good evening to everyone and welcome to our Women in Tech Role Models Masterclass, the first course of 4 this year. And tonight we're going to be talking about the theme, Your Persona. My name is Cara Antoine and I'm the president of the chapter of the Netherlands for Women in Tech and a member of our Global Executive Advisory Board at Women in Tech. I'd like to start the evening by sharing a little bit with you about who we are at Women in Tech, because maybe some of you are not as familiar, but then I'd really love to dive into the topic because we have an incredible lineup of speakers for you tonight to get to really dive deep into exploring your personas. So who is Women in Tech and what's this really all about? We are a global organization who have a simple mission. The mission sounds simple, in fact, it is to close the gap for women in technology. We recognize that there is a gap, there's still a gap today, and in order to have impact, we have aligned our objectives with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We selected 5 goals that really help us to put women and equality at the center of everything we do. We're also looking at the pillars of education, entrepreneurialism, social inclusion, and science and innovation. And around the world, we are connected with more than 30,000 members who are a part of our movement and are representing more than 70 countries. I think we have a great representation of many of you on the call tonight. And we're here to help to educate you, to equip you, and to empower you with the skills and in particular the confidence that you need to succeed and excel in a STEM career or in your course of studies. I'm very, very proud of the work that we're doing in the Netherlands, which is one of our more than a dozen chapters that we have in the world. There are about 2,200 of us here in the Netherlands. And what you see on the screen today are in fact some of the graduates from last year's Role Models Masterclasses who have also decided to pay it forward and to be a part of the community to help us in our media and communications, in looking at our community leadership and in business development. And of course, there is always room for more help. And for any of those of you on the call tonight with us who are interested to pay it forward after the lessons and the learning that you will receive from us over this next 4 courses of these masterclasses, then we certainly welcome you to be a part of our community and a part of our tribe as we're running Women in Tech here in the Netherlands. So with a very, very brief introduction about who we are at Women in Tech, what I'd really like to do is dive in and give you an introduction to why we are here together tonight and what really is bringing us together. Why are we here and why is this in fact so important? Well, for context, there's a shortage. There's a major issue, in fact, for both current and future jobs in this marketplace. And in the year 2020, we recognize that Europe is facing a shortage of nearly 500,000 skilled technology workers. And that's data according to the European Commission. This data does not even, unfortunately, take into consideration what we may not realize yet, the impact of the current global pandemic due to COVID-19. Women today make up less than 30% of Europe's tech workforce. And according to research in the Netherlands, for example, only 7% of women are graduating with a higher degree education in STEM. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math, as compared to about 30% men who are graduating with a similar degree. Now, let's also consider that data from the World Economic Forum is telling us in 2020 that nearly every company will become a digital company in the near future, if in fact they haven't already become one, right? So we've seen that with COVID-19 in particular, and this global pandemic has certainly accelerated the process of transformation. As more processes become automated in our organizations and in our communities, for example, the tasks performed that may be administrative or office-related roles, these are mostly executed by women and will likely be displaced. And so there's an urgent need for women to get skills in this digital era. There also needs to be more diversity in the development of technology. For example, we want to train computers and utilize machine learning and artificial intelligence technologies that are developed by both women and men to ensure that AI not only acts the way that men think, but rather represents our society holistically and in its entirety. So to ensure that digital transformation is future-proof, we must address diversity in the tech industry. And to be more specific, more diversity in the tech workforce and more diversity in the development of new technologies. So what's the solution? I can imagine that you may think you know where this is going, right? I believe that it is to inspire more girls and women to choose for a career in technology, to reduce the shortage that we see in the tech workforce, and to ensure greater diversity in the digital transformation of our society. However, we're facing yet another challenge, and this is where each of you who have joined us on this call tonight come in, especially the girls and the women who are here and who are representing tech today. The challenge is that research indicates that women give up on technology at a young age, maybe around the age of 14 or so. And those who do get started in a career in tech tend to lose interest because they're encountering a lack of diversity and inspiration. The main reasons that we're seeing for this are there are a lack of role models, there's gender bias, there's often lack of stimulation by parents and teachers for the younger girls. And there are many misconceptions about social interaction and creativity in tech-related jobs. Now, personally, I believe that role models are an especially important part of the solution and are necessary to inspire future female leaders for a career in technology. And fortunately, the research does agree that the importance of role models for girls and women of all ages in STEM is vital. So now we have the data. We want to give you the tools, and we want to give you the confidence and the learning on how to express yourself. We want you to be a next-gen role model so that together we can ensure that women of all ages who are interested are in tech, because we know that the people who have a role model, and that's nearly 70% of the individuals, are more likely to be interested in tech and to imagine a future career in tech. So we need many, many more role models, in fact. I fundamentally believe that we can boost women's self-confidence in their own tech skills and to exemplify the best personal characteristics and mindsets through the visibility of role models. We know that girls who have role models are more likely to perform better in tech subjects at school than those without a role model. And the same goes true for women who are in a professional career who are looking for a source of inspiration and encouragement and confidence from other female role models, either in or even beyond their own career paths. This encouragement can come from a variety of different sources and different role models, but less often from celebrities and more from the real world. So really individuals who are reachable and approachable. As a young girl myself, I fell in love with tech and engineering, and my early inspiration came from reading stories about the accomplishments of women like Grace Hopper and Jane Goodall and Amelia Earhart. When I was 14, I signed up for a double E class, which was electrical engineering, and I was the only girl in that class. Luckily, I had a teacher who believed in every student in his class, including me. And it was in that class that this teacher taught me how to creatively bind and solder different colored wires, how to secure them onto a circuit board, how to attach a speaker and even create a sound, thereby inventing my own radio. And at that moment, I was hooked. So we need to be able to show girls and women the application of creativity to solve real world problems and tech skills to learn how to tell stories that inspire others. Being a role model in tech means being equally balanced in working in tech as much as it means bringing your whole self, your human skills, and being a great leader in business. Your development, your support, and your visibility as a role model for young girls and for women of all ages in tech is crucial. So moving towards tonight's program and the focus of today, this course is on your persona, and it is designed to help you gain deeper insight, learning, and understanding into who you are, so you can tell your best story and get your ideas and capabilities across in the most impactful way. Some of you may find yourself in the middle of a job search right now, and some may be seeking a promotion within your own organization. You may be planning to pitch a proposal to launch your business idea or secure a next round of funding. No matter your situation today, we all need to know who we are, why we are here, and what we have to offer. And we have to have our stories ready to go. So whether this means your story will be told in front of a virtual audience like we're doing tonight, or on a stage, or in a boardroom or conference room, or through your CV, we're going to explore these approaches with you tonight. And in the next 4 months, as you can see from the agenda on this slide, we will dive into other themes that include your passions, your presence, and learning how to pay it forward. So be sure to join us for all 4 courses, and let's raise our voices together and inspire future generation role models for women in tech. Now that you understand how important it is that you are here tonight, let's get started. I am super proud to get to introduce you to our first speaker tonight, Harry van Dorenmolen. Harry, I will move your slides to the screen and hand it over to you.
All right, thank you, Cara, and thank you for everybody joining tonight, and we hope it's going to be a very productive session. Basically, there are 3 things we like to achieve today. First, we like to push a lot of energy through these lines. That's number 1. Secondly, we simply like to share a lot of our experience that we had over time and hope it will be useful to you. And thirdly, it's really that we also give you some homework in the end. Yeah, so don't think this is a free ride, there's homework. And basically the homework about storyline is that we propose you to make 10 charts, and the cover is now in front of here, where we believe that there is a winning formula able. Number 1, a good storyline brought by a good personality, brought by a good exposure into the media will have a huge impact. So this chart was made by Olga and Mariska on KPMG, and you can use it all over the place because it says a lot about women in technology. If we then move on, basically we say, where are we today? And Cara alluded on that one. We are average at best, yeah. We cannot claim victory yet about women in tech. There's still a lot to be do. That's a global statement. It can differ all over the world, but it's a really average at best. So we're seeking improved storyline. We are seeking the improved personality, improved impact, but mostly the improved exposure. So what's your storyline? That's basically a key question we could ask all of you. I'll give you 2. So I worked at IBM before, and at a certain moment in time in my career, we had to close a commercial deal, and the deal was not closing. So my leader told me, so Harry, what's blocking? Very simple line, what's blocking? And I told her, I said, listen, there are many things there blocking: the price, the conditions, the storyline, whatever. And she said to me, so, okay, is that it? Those are the 3 things that are blocking the deal? And I said, yeah, those are the things. And she said, well, if you can fix those things, we have a deal. I said, yes, inevitably, that's the conclusion. And then she went back with me and said, what do you think the price of the deal should be? And at that moment in time, I need to acknowledge that I didn't know, because I basically didn't dare to call the CFO to find out with him. And then she said to me, well, let me call the guy, and some later we had a deal. So the net of this storyline is that you make things personal. You tell something that really happened, and it is a message. And the message is basically that a lot of time you yourself are blocking. Yeah. Second storyline it has about Netflix, Grace and Frankie. I said it before. was a series at Netflix. It started with an old couple who divorced, men and women, etc. Next day, the daughter of the lady came in, said, well, if you're divorced and you're 70, the life is all over. So you go on a dating site, you make a profile, you know, you get a date, and maybe you get somebody to know to go on the rest of your life. So this is another example where you use real examples, and the message here is that through technology, through talent, through creativity, you can create new markets. So I'm encouraging you to come up with your own personal storyline. Personal is power, what happened in the past, and really, you know, share that with a lot of passion, if you will. Okay, then if you go into the structure of the storyline we have in mind, and that's the next chart, is that we made for you basically 9 charts. 3 are about the now, 3 are about the wow, and 3 are about the how. And if you follow this storyline, I think you can get a really good story. The now basically alludes on the fact, can you articulate where women technology is today? So the only chart I'll show from this one is some words. So in previous sessions, we asked, that's the next chart, Cara. We asked to people, if we say women technology, what do you think? Is it minority? Is it opportunity? Is it brave? Is it equality? Is it challenge? It's not a problem. Is it dare? Are we Amazons? Whatever. What's the word that comes into mind that pictures best women in technology? And if you do so, you get at least some ideas going, and you can rate them into positive, negative, whatever you like. But getting out these wordles is a first lessons we learned that might be helpful. The second and the third item that is not on the chart, but I'll talk to you, is that we also look to really some facts. And as an example, in the Netherlands, if we come to 20% women in tech, we are already very happy. But in countries like India and Russia and even South America, hey, that's normal. I mean, it's normal in India that 45, 50% of the ladies are working in the IT digital environment. So the second message is wordles. Second message, get some facts so that you can demonstrate that you know what is happening, not only in your tiny Leiden, but also in the world, if you will. That gives you, you know, authority. And the third thing that we really said, make a list of what is working in your company, in your ecosystem, and what isn't working. And we learned in this module here that 5 things are really important. If the CEO is on board, if you have a vision, if you measure progress, if you have some programs, and if you have role models, those are really 5 things that really makes a difference. So to close item number 1, the now, demonstrate that you know what you're talking about, and that's good. Now the challenge I'm going to do now is to ask if anyone in this call dares to unmute herself, himself, and to give me 1 word that comes to mind when you look at this chart. So we are challenging technique now, Cara, but see if it works. Who dares to give me a word? Okay.
It's a little messy.
It's a little messy. Okay. I think I move on, Cara. All right.
Empowerment, Harry.
Empowerment. Okay.
I say provocative.
Provocative, yeah. Okay. Let's keep them coming, ladies, and we will add to the lineup here. Okay. So we talked about the now. Now the second thing is you need to talk about the wow. What is different? And I'll give you a few ideas first. If you look ahead in time, we see that the trends of the next 5 or 10 years are really around 3 items. First, technology is really there to stay. It will be safer, it will be affordable, etc. So it's there, and it's really going to be a big mean in everything we need to do in society. The second thing will happen is that the power of individuals will improve. Yeah, students, patients, people and citizens, people themselves can have much more influence in everything we do in business and in social environment. And the third thing that is going to change significantly is the way we work together. Call it agility, call it lean and mean, whatever you like to call it. But the days that we dwell for months, for years on a plan is over. Yeah, we learn it every time. You learn it every day because I'm older than you are. But we really need to drive that into the ecosystem that is the way. So the only thing I like to flag out is the definition, which is the next chart, that we thought about. Because if you think about the women in tech, well, we clearly can talk about women, and we clearly can underpin that I like creativity and listening skills and collaboration. We know these things. But then we go into technology, and what we found out last year is that still too often people only think about technology, about programming, data centers, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff more. And we felt if you expand that definition, not only in tech deep, as we call it, which is really science, research, extremely important, but also if you really think about tech smarts. So are there new devices we can create who are really helpful, but basically about tech touch? How can we bring technology into the equation for the huge societal issues we have, challenges we have, etc.? If you see now around healthcare, what we spend on health is becoming unaffordable. So we need to do much more to make sure the patient himself, herself, can play a much bigger role there. Technology needs to help there. Education system, we see it here happening now through COVID, etc. We talked about moving to online for years, and now suddenly in 3 months, it's happening all over the place. So we are challenging you to use the COVID experience that also has a negative downturn. I'm aware of that. But think about what happened. In 3 months, 4 months, we were able to move away the bureaucracy, if you will. So the challenge is now, keep what we have and make it, containable, if you will. And secondly, new issues will come up. So let's deal with them. So ladies, in majority, what we like to bring in the wow is that we say 3 things are important. First, work on your definition. Secondly, state an ambition, if you will. And thirdly, make sure that people get these messages, if you will. So that's about the wow sector, if you will. All right, now let's move on to the how, because this is important. So often we experience that people can study on strategy. We can study on plans. They talk about strategy and plans forever. The challenge is that we break these things down into components we can handle. So tonight in this section, we basically provide you with a strong example of 10 charts that allow you to personalize this and use this storyline to talk about women in technology, including your personal examples, including use of the technical data we provide you. But if you have this under your belt, if you will, and you add the personality, I think we can achieve a lot. So the how is basically a few things I like to underpin. The first one is the next one is the structure you need to apply. So we really believe in the next chart that a few things are important. First, keep driving the value creation. Every time there's new news, there's new ideas, there's new proven experiences, add them to your value creation, if you will. But most of all, and that's the bottom part of the chart, go out. Yeah, go storytelling. Start tonight to your family. Start tomorrow in your ecosystem. Start with the neighbors. Simply keep going, get better. And on the sides, you see that program, best practices, external network are really very relevant for that one. So structure is important. And the next chart, and then I come to a close, is really about measuring and communication. Measuring is not negative. Scorecards are not negative. It's not to say, here you're wrong. No, it's to say, this is what is working. You're good at that. People like that. It's making an impact. But so keep the measurement going, and most of all, communicate. And we learned last year that, getting a better storyline is giving you confidence. It's a strong word. It's not arrogance. It's confidence. Apply it with confident behavior and bring it out. And in the end, we need to measure these progress, because my closing comments are basically that this is also all about, ensuring that we have enough talent to tackle all the things we have to do in this world. So talent is what I learned over time, a really safe word to go on. Cara, my last chart, and then I think we open up for some questions because I think that's stronger. So you see here this barracuda, and that's the bird, the fish upstairs there. And I like to close with that very small story because in Leiden they recently did a story, a test with 100 barracudas. They put it in a basin of water, and the fish were flying. And then they cut the bassin in half. And the 100 barracudas went to the left, and on the right side there was nothing. And they put a piece of bread on the right side. And these barracudas, they went to the bread, but of course they couldn't reach it. And this goes on for some days, and not because the barracudas are dead, but I mean, they simply stop. And the test continues, and they took away the shield, if you will. And these barracudas said, no, you're not going to play with me because I know there must be a shield. So they didn't go for the bread. And the challenge is how you change this situation. And the answer is, you know it. We put now one new barracuda inside, and this fish goes through the bread. So Cara and I and the team like you to think about it because we like you all on the call tonight to be that barracuda who says, you know, I know what I need to do. I'm going to do different, and I'm go after that bread. So that's our plea. Now, with that said, let's open it, Cara, under your brilliant leadership, because I really admire your technical skills for this Zoom call. Let's see if there are some questions we can take, and otherwise offline. But thank you.
Thank you, Harry, so much. And absolutely, I think that's triggered a lot of good ideas and thoughts. So let's invite Harry, people to unmute themselves and share some of their reflections with you.
So, buenas noches from Guatemala, I think. Eh?
Yes, I think Adriana would like to make a comment.
Hi, my name is Adriana from Guatemala, and thanks a lot for your presentation. It was very eye-opening and inspiring. And I believe that solutions and those words are really important to have in mind and work on them in the team because usually they are
Yeah.
Adriana, I muted your line because it was very difficult to hear you. Maybe you could type your thoughts into the chat session and then we can read that back later, okay? And I do see some active participation from Micah. I wonder if Micah, who's on the line, maybe you could unmute yourself and share your comments.
I thought it was a really, really nice presentation. Thank you so much, Harry. What I was wondering about the 10 charts is there a set wordings that you can use, or is it unlimited creativity?
No, I think the challenge is that you I mean, it's your benefit that you use some basic words that we found out that are universal, if you will. Yeah. So we can help you with that, and that also unites us a little bit. I mean, the B side is that you need to fill it with a lot of personal stuff. Yeah. Personal stories, personal experience, because you don't need to remember those. You can tell them every time of day. So it's a mix. So we can provide you with the skeleton, some words that always work, some approaches that always work, so even some examples that always work. But in addition, you need to personalize it yourself. And as you are the first to dare to speak about it, why don't you and I team up here? So you and I are going to make your personal storyline, and that's the favor I give to you today.
Great, thank you.
No, don't thank me. This is going to be hard work for you. You don't thank me for 2 weeks. Don't worry.
I love a challenge.
Good.
Excellent. Who's next in being challenged by Harry?
Hi, my name is Arnima.
Hi.
I'm from India, but I am currently based out of Berlin. I have close to 10 years of experience in tech, I would say. So I have the question, although I have been working very closely with quite a lot of senior stakeholders in organizations, but I feel, how do you take that next step? And how strongly do you define your storyline so that you are convincing enough to take that extra step and go to leadership positions? I feel that as a real big barrier, and I have a lot of hesitations on how do you take that extra next step, and
Yeah.
how strongly do you frame your storyline for that?
Yeah. So I will give you three answers. First of all, you yourself, we need to get better. So a better storyline, better thought through, etc. That's number one. Secondly, we always assume that our leaders and our governmental leaders, that they understand what we are talking about. We assume that they know about what technology means. We assume that they know about artificial, and they don't. That's my point. So the challenge is, number one, our story needs to get better. Secondly, we need to be stronger. But most of all, we need to teach, educate, help these leaders that technology is there for stay. And if we talk about the water, the energy, all the issues in the world, I mean, technology is a means to fix these things. So we need to help the other side. There's the big game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Great question. Who else has a thought or a reflection based on the how and the now, and a challenge from Harry to go after the barracuda bread?
If I can jump in. Aga, I'm originally from Poland, but I live and work in Leiden in Netherlands. Very often I do see that even though I make the necessary steps and I would like to challenge the current status, I see that our companies, especially one working in the government or academia, they are very hierarchical and old-fashioned, and you often hear like, yeah, we do see your values, but you need to work here for at least 4 years, or you need to complete this and these steps before we can admit you to this next level. Or no, we cannot give you a raise because you only work here for 2 years, and the raise is only based on your age, not or like years of experience, but not on the level of your quality. How do you challenge this, concrete, old-fashioned hierarchical systems as just a single person?
Well, the first question is, you need to challenge yourself if you like to work in such an environment. Okay? So the choice is also with you. I know that we all need to make money and need an income, but if you are so strong, if you have such energy, the question is, do you want to work in such an environment? So that's the first personal question. The second thing is that it's not easy, and you need to go again and again and again. But my really point is that I learned in time that you need to spend more effort into help people understand what you're pushing for. And the thing that is happening in society, this world is going to help us. I mean, if you look to the Netherlands healthcare system, we are spending 100 billion on that one, and it's moving up to 200 billion. It's becoming unmanageable. So soon, in my thinking, all this new creative thinking that we do in this call here, the new approaches, the new era, if you will, that understands tech, etc., will be there. So number one, it's your personal choice. Secondly, you need to hang on. And thirdly, I think it's also to regroup and see if there are better things we can do. That is the storyline, to be honest. And but trust me, help is on its way, because what I see happening in companies, what I see happening now with COVID, what I see happening in the world, if I see all these terrible stories about people from Africa coming to Europe, I mean, this is becoming a very difficult environment, but difficult environment needs solutions. And I bet you that technology is a part of these solutions. So hang on, I would say.
Hello, good day. My name is Teresa Mostert. I'm dialing in from Cape Town, South Africa. My question is about the wow factor. And I think maybe a lot of the people in the room will agree with me that what is seen as wow when you are a woman working in technology can sometimes be quite challenging. So when you apply for a job, people often tell me, well, you have such a great CV, but it's kind of like, I kind of often as a woman feel that I'm scattered all over the place, that I lack focus, that almost like I have these dreams of changing the world and I have all of these ideas, but I never feel like I feel like I'm stuck in a job, that it's not really about being wow, it's about holding the job and being good at your job. So it's kind of like you're always stuck in this difficult position where what is important, where should my focus be? it, I have a dream, I have a vision, I want to accomplish X, Y, and Z. I want to maybe do something that will change healthcare for the world because I have all this knowledge of AI, but to make that application is very difficult because I'm not a doctor, I don't have a medical qualification. How can we make better bridges, and how can we be better at what we do in terms of defining what is the wow and where, because it is so important to apply your energy correctly. It doesn't help you waste all of your energy for 5 years doing something that doesn't actually, where there's not an open door. How do you push the door open? This very difficult. Thank you very much.
Well, two remarks. First of all, we push the door open together. I think that's basically an open statement, but that's really what Cara is asking for, that we unite forces and we do that. That's I really mean it. And secondly, the only thing I can share with you is when I need to coach people, I always talk about what I call network, personality, and jukebox. And jukebox is an old machine where you have these records. And jukebox means that you need to have a content understanding of a lot of things. How does a worker council work? How does the technology work? What is happening in Egypt at the moment, etc. You need to know some things, content, if you will. If you have that content, I bet you have one of the strongest assets for in time. Then we need to add network. So, hey, we need to get out in your company, outside the company. You need to have a drink with somebody. Why? That person is not waiting for you. But if you meet people, you share the noise. And then finally, we need to work on our personality. Yeah, and personality is a mix of having a content, having a sales, having a relationship, etc. And that is what also in this course we are going to push together. So net, I think, when I work at IBM, I started as a programmer, a really computer programmer, and for 5 years, it's still a nightmare for me. I had to program, and every year I went to my manager and said, "No, I'm ready for manager, second, whatever." I said, "No, program." And now, but I'm twice as your age, I'm so happy that this person did it, because I know everything about programming, about technique, etc. And now, later on, a lot of these issues about, about technology, about apps in our country, I know. So I'm happy that I focused on a lot of content, because the rest we can learn. Yeah? And hey, I'm here. So thank you for asking this question in South Africa, really. And I see a little bit of distress in your eyes, but also a small smile now. So it's good to see. Thank you.
Hi.
Oh, so
My name is Sophie. I'm based in Amsterdam. I have a French accent because I'm French originally. It took me years to realize I was working in tech, which might sound weird, but I'm a dentist by training, and I moved to the pharmaceutical industry and health tech, and it took me quite a while to realize I was actually already in tech. Then I was lucky enough to meet some people who are on that call today, who led me to look into data science, and through coaching, I managed to get on the other side. So to keep my leadership level that I acquired before and move to BI, business intelligence. But now I feel like maybe I'm a barracuda with a teddy bear mask on my face. And I really want to take the mask out and how can I show others that this is doable? I hear so much, and on the phone, on the line today, that frustration of how can I move forward? And, it feels impossible to leverage my transferable skills to move to another environment, and it can be done. And when you talk to younger women or women of the same age who are looking into that direction, they look at you a bit like you're a unicorn, you know, and they can do it. And so for me, the persona is really about how you can show others and inspire others that they can do it as well.
Well, I mean, we could do a small test now and start inspiring me by your story. I'm teasing you now, eh? But it's more than teasing. I mean, you are an important person in this call. You have this experience, as you mentioned. You're even French. That's good. Yeah. So you could be an inspirer for all of us here. And now I'm doing this role, and Cara does this role. You could do it. Yeah. So that's a challenge we put to you also here. But the point you're making right. The people on the call here, we are those barracudas on the left, and we are swimming, and we are swimming, and we are swimming. And we are seeking some barracudas to get out. And we help you with the storyline, we help you with the inspiration, we help you with the energy. But, you know, I mean, if you're in Amsterdam, give me a call, come to me and invite, and it's my final invite, ladies, for the evening. Come to me, be ready to inspire me in 50 minutes. That's my challenge, à vous.
Oh, I'll take
D'accord?
it. Yeah.
D'accord?
D'accord.
Merci.
That's a fantastic challenge, actually, Sophie and Harry, and I happen to know Sophie as well, and that she has a very inspirational story to tell. And with that, Harry, I think we need to draw a close to your session, and we're going to be moving on. Where, in fact, maybe Sophie, you'll get a chance to practice some of these skills, so that when you get to meet up with Harry soon, that you can really impress him with your story again. Yeah, so Harry, thank you so much for really getting this conversation started in such a great way. I love the questions. The chat is going wild right now, and there's a lot of engagement there also. So I thank you all for your active participation, and we're going to really dive deep now. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce to you Irene Hoffman. And Irene, if you could take over the line and share your slides, we'll turn to your engagement now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cara. I will set things up to share my slides with you. So thank you all for being here, and thanks Women in Tech for having me here. I'm also feeling very honored that I can do this short workshop with you and sharing my passion on this. We're going to talk about understanding your talents to strengthen your story, as I believe that everything starts with knowing your talents and knowing how to put it in your personal brand. And I will tell you first a bit more about me. I'm Irene Hoffman. I'm a sales development coach at S3. I'm based in the Netherlands. I work at S3 since 3 years. I didn't start in the learning and development team as a sales development coach. I started in the marketing team of S3 as a marketeer. So for one of our brands, the IT brand called Computer Futures, I rolled out the marketing strategy. And after 1.5 years being within S3, I internally switched to another team, the learning and development team. So completely different job, completely different thing. And I will tell you a bit more about my personal story within this talk. The reason, my why for doing this job is because, and you can also read with me on the screen, is because I'm very passionate about connecting your inner powers, your talents. I like to call them your inner powers, to your job to maximize your authenticity. So this is really my why I am doing this job and what keeps me going every day. And next to that, you might see standing on the slide, a yoga teacher. Yep, I'm a yoga teacher besides my job at S3. And let me tell you a bit about S3. Maybe you already know something about the company, I'm not sure. Our mission is bringing skilled people together to build the future. And we are already doing that since 1986. So a lot of years of experience in bringing skilled people together. We're a specialized recruitment agency, recruitment and staffing. And we have a global presence. So we're in 47 offices in 16 countries. and we are the only global pure STEM specialist. And I'm curious, and that's my first question. Does anyone know what STEM stands for? Who dares?
You're welcome to unmute yourselves to respond to that question if you want.
Yes, please.
Can you repeat, please?
Again? Is it science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or management?
So much? Yeah. Flawless, flawless. Really good, really good. Thank you. And next to that, we partner with a lot of tech companies globally to help them find the best talent. So that was a bit about S3. And now I want to talk to you about the importance of bringing your talents to the market. And first of all, what's a talent? Well, I believe a talent is something that you bring with you naturally. So of course you can develop it, but it is something in you that you were born with that you can develop. I think that's a talent. So it's really basic. And everybody has unique talents. So that is also something that's already really important to understand. And I really believe that your career should be built on your talents. So using your talents as a fundament. And I believe if everybody in the world would do this, then everybody would have a job that that suits him or her, but also that all the jobs are covered. So that's my personal mission in this world, to see if we can work in this way in the future and to contribute to that. And why is it so important that you know your talents? First of all, because it helps you to reveal and develop your capabilities to the max. And I will illustrate this with a personal story. As I already mentioned, I didn't start in learning and development. So I didn't start as a coach in my career. I started in marketing. And back in high school, I was really, really bad in mathematics. Everything that had to do with numbers or statistics or whatsoever, it freaked me out. I was really, really bad at it. And when I left school, I didn't want to do anything with that anymore in my life. So I did something in art. I followed a study in art. And then somewhere in my career, I dropped in at S3 in a marketing role. And what I really loved was the creative part of it. And that was also something that I recognized of myself in school. I like doing that. I also like talking to people. So in my marketing role, I talked to a lot of people. I made stories. So that was the part I really loved. But as you can imagine, there were a lot of numbers in marketing. Today, all marketing is about data-driven things and writing your article, setting your strategy based on numbers. And I was completely struggling day in, day out with these numbers. So I was trying to develop this, but it went very, very slow and I got very insecure about this. So every day going to my work, it was a struggle. There were good things about my job, but also a lot of things that took a lot from my energy, which I couldn't put in the things that I was good at. So there was 1.5 years of a lot of experience, but also a lot of struggles. And then I decided to apply for a job in learning and development as a coach. And I didn't have any experience, but I just thought this is something that I should do. I had to do a test before, made a short presentation, and I was hired based on my talents. And I don't know what happened. It felt really magical. But once I was in this job, my development went sky high. And why? Because I was working with my creativity. I was working with talking to people. I was working with giving presentations, with attracting people. So I had all my energy to put in there and not anymore to put it in the numbers. So that was also for my own confidence really, really, really strong. So it really helped me using my talents and working from my talents to develop other capabilities that are connected to my talent. What that also brought with it is that it helped me find an authentic drive and my intrinsic motivation, which kind of means that I can keep myself going internally. that was completely different from my job before, when I went to work and I really had to get tasks from colleagues to do them. I suddenly felt what I was about to do, and I know I was doing that right. And I just kept going. And this is what companies are craving for in these times. People who are creative, who are working from their authenticity, and they can keep themselves thriving and keep themselves going. And also, last part, it really brought me a lot of self-motivation, a lot of self-belief. I know that I'm good in what I'm doing, so I can develop it in whatever I would like. It gives a lot of freedom, also a lot of commitment to the job, and not less important, a lot of fun. So this is what working from my talents brought me. And that's also the reason why I find it so super important to spread this word to all you girls, to find this thing in yourself, because I think this is where it all starts. And let's work on this. I would like to do an exercise with you. And I hope you all have a pen and paper somewhere so you can write. Let's pretend like we're in a non-virtual classroom with each other, and where you would also participate. So I would really encourage you to participate. Some of you who signed up as really early birds, they might have received an email with some pre-work to ask your friends, your family, and your colleagues about your talents, about what they think that your strengths are. If you didn't do that, no worries. We just pick it up from here. And for now, the first thing, it's super nice to read what your peers wrote about you, but just leave that aside and think yourself about some things, like a short brainstorm with yourself, what you think you are really good at. And we're not used to that as women. We're also always a bit hiding behind things that we are good at, or we have this small voice on our shoulder, the devil on our shoulder saying, yes, but, or no, you're not good enough. So let's park that. We don't need that now. We can be arrogant. Harry doesn't like the word arrogant, so let's be confident about ourselves and think of the things that you think that are your talents. So things that you are really good at. And I'll start talking within a minute. One tip, maybe you find it difficult to pinpoint your talent. A trick you could do is think of something that you are really good at, and then think, why am I good at it? What part of it is am I really good at? And why am I good at this? And that's underlying thing, that's your talent. So I would say take 3 moments or 3 minutes for yourself to think about this. I will shut my mouth so you can think in silence and write them down. Brainstorm with yourself about your talents.
Irene, would you like people to start putting thoughts into the chat as well to inspire others, or to keep it to themselves?
No, you can put anything in the chat which you like, and maybe respond to each other. But we only have 3 minutes, so it's really much about keep it going. So I see a question, should we write words? Right, think about what you're good at, your words. If you can try to put it in 1 word. Might be difficult, but you can try. Maaike, enthusiastic, wow, yeah, that's a great one. That's a really great one. Explaining things I have learned to others. So you can be very clear. Let's see what else I see. Good at thinking logically. Leading teams. Yeah, that's already a great talent. You can also go a step further, Liz, to think, why am I good in leading teams? What's my talent underneath that? Working deadlines. Yeah, what's your talent behind that?
I love the word adaptable there, Irene.
Yeah,
Great.
it's also a great one. Adaptable, eager to learn. Yeah, that's also great, great talent. I see bringing people together. That's a great thing to read if you work for S3. What am I good at? Getting things done, connecting people. Yeah, connecting. That's also my strength, by the way. I also have it as my strength. All right, give you one more minute to think of it, and then we'll go to the second part of the assignment. Oh, motivator. I like that word. Yeah, you should definitely use that, Afra. Turn concept into reality. That's already a tagline. So nice to read. Calm and composed, even when disagreeing. I bet that's something that employers would love to see in someone. Patricia, she has 6 talents already listed. Great, great, great. All right. So if you've done this, you can already go to the second part of the assignment if you have done the pre-work, and otherwise you can continue thinking about your talents. And compare what you wrote down and what you thought of with what your peers mentioned about you. So what do you think you're very strong on? What do your peers think you're very strong on? And is there any overlap? And if you found those, then bring them back to 3. So 3 talents that are also applicable to the area you work in for your job, so that you can just bring to the market. Makes me so happy to read all your talents, girls. Adriana Aguilar, questioning, that's also a great one. I think you really stand out on this if you use this in your branding. And Olga says, I see people's strengths and help develop further. Yeah, so that's great as a coach, but also as a manager these days, right? Be a coaching manager. All right, so let's continue. We only have a short amount of time, so you can always finish this yourself at home, of course. We'll take it a step further, and let's talk about creating your story from this. And I will go quickly over it, as Harry already did a lot about this. I knew that, so I would already keep it short. And it's not something we're going to do in this workshop, but you can work on this from home. The only thing that I wanted to talk about is the benefits of having a personal story that is linked to your discipline. And one thing that really benefits from a story is that it gives your career direction. So knowing what your talents are, and therefore what you're good at, and what way you want to go with this, and where you're coming from, that is very important to know where you go. So it gives your career direction, and it also results in authentic leadership potential, because people want to work with people these days. And if you're talking or working or talking or helping people from your heart, from who you are inside, then people believe you. So you have a great authentic leadership with you, And then I'm not talking about management. You can do it even when you're only for 1 year in a job or even for 1 month. Of course, you have to find your place first and your way first, but you can already start inspiring people with things that you are really believe in with your why. And next to that, it shows your uniqueness and your intrinsic motivation. And this is very useful, for example, in job interviews or when you're creating an elevator pitch. Especially in these times where a lot of people during Corona, unfortunately lost their job. Maybe you're also looking for a new job, for a new place to shine. You can get potential employers interested by showing your talents and your authentic, your unique story. It makes you stand out from other people who don't do this. And believe me, there are a lot of people who only say, okay, I'm a Java developer. That's it. What's behind it? What's the story behind it? And what talents make you be this unique Java developer? Just an example. So you can do this at home, creating your personal storyline. I've added a link in the slides. You will receive it after the webinar, and you can use the 4-step structure for a traditional narrative to create your own story. And the last thing I want to do with you, we're going to close with creating a tagline. So every LinkedIn profile has a first couple of sentences that should really trigger the public to go, or the audience to go into your LinkedIn profile. And a lot of people only have their role or the company they work for, which can be very functional, but it doesn't say anything about themselves. So it doesn't trigger. And this is the first thing people see from you. So make sure that you don't miss out on people who search for people and meet people who search for a robot that can do one thing really good, that really are a package of things. So I would like to invite you, as you can see, I took my own LinkedIn profile as an example, and you can read my storyline over there. That was also my why in my introduction. And I would like to thank you to think about what would my tagline be. So how can I adapt my, how can I take my talents into a tagline? And I would say take 5 minutes. We're going to use breakout rooms. So we're going to put you in a separate room together with 5 other people. So 5 minutes is very short. Hey, I'm this, and I'm this person, and I'm living over here. So those are maybe the 2 things that you want to share with each other, and then go into assignment. Take a moment for yourself in the breakout rooms to think about your tagline, and maybe you can help and inspire each other on this. So Cara, could you please open the breakout rooms, and I would like you all to ask to accept the invite and go into the room.
Yes, I'm just going to divide the rooms for us right now. So using a little bit of my quick math, I think we can get 5 or 6 participants in a room, Irene. Is that a good plan?
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, super. Then I'm going to create the rooms now, and we'll see you again in how many minutes, Irene?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So it's short.
Okay, here we go.
So the fun thing is that you can also go in the breakout rooms yourself, Cara. Did you know?
Yeah. I know. I might pop in and out of a few to get them going, but I wanted to let you know, Irene, that we have 15 rooms, okay? And there are a couple of rooms that are completely full. Not everyone has joined all the rooms,
No.
but if you want to call out some rooms that are full when they come back, if they remember what room they were in, breakout room number 7, number 8, number 10, 11, 14, and 15 are all completely joined. So they have 5 people in each of those rooms, and hopefully some great conversation over there.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Okay. And I'm watching the clock, so at 12 after, I will bring them all back.
Yeah, yeah, and then take with you that then if you call them back, then it takes 1 more minute before they really would be brought back. So
Right. I'll send them a broadcast message right before we do that.
So then when they are back, I'll try to get 2 people to share their tagline, and that's the end of the story.
Okay. And then perhaps you can hand it over to Anna-Marie and Margot.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
I already have a lot of LinkedIn invites.
Yeah, super. So we have 2 more minutes. I'm going to let them know that. Okay, I'm going to let them know that they have about a minute left.
Yeah. Anna-Marie.
Yeah.
How do you like my LinkedIn picture?
Yeah.
Did you see what's in there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring everybody back now.
That's a great tagline for real.
Yeah.
Here they come.
Thanks. All right, so slowly everybody's coming back. Let's wait for the last couple of rooms. I'm sure they have great discussions over there. That might be the reason they take a bit longer. Nice, fruitful discussions about talents. Best thing on earth.
Yeah.
But Cara, why do you put me in room 13? That is not a good signal.
Blame it on the artificial intelligence, Harry.
All right, I will.
That's my lucky number, so it was maybe it was a bias.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Cara, this was not enough time. We couldn't do every person, so that was not really nice.
Oh, okay, sorry about that, Gerda. Well,
it would have been great if we could spend a bit more time, because we had 5 people in the room and we could only do 4. So yeah, that's a bit of a pity for the last person, let's say.
Okay, Gerda, thanks for letting us know. Let me hand it back to you to manage how you want to get some of the feedback back from the groups.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I think we're almost complete again. How did you like it in the breakout rooms? Some reactions?
Yeah, I agree. It was a bit too short to discuss it properly.
Yeah, it is short, right?
I think it was nice to have some discussion going around how we all felt. And yeah, it was very productive.
Great, great.
Well, something definitely I would say I notice is the fact that my profile needs to be improved.
Well, that's already a great takeaway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is that I'll pay attention to the rest of the basically LinkedIn profile, but this, especially this line, I have it not really.
Have you wrote something down?
Now, no. In the discussion, we couldn't have that. We were in the introduction, basically, of everyone.
No worries. I'll leave you.
But it was a good ice-breaking session, I would say. And I completely agree. Mine was also very robotic in nature. And I'm going to change that. I'm going to bring some human aspect to it. And
that's exactly the thing, the human aspect. That's great how you say that. So I want two people, or let's start with one, who would like to share, who dares to share the tagline. I'm aware that it was short, but sometimes under pressure, the most brilliant things come up. So who wants to share the tagline and has feedback from 80 people? That's great, right?
I want to share out. I couldn't.
Karen, can I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, that's Karen. Yes, Karen.
All right, great. Please go ahead. And for people who want to share feedback, please use the chat and think of something you like really much about it and something that she can use to improve her tagline. Karen.
Yeah, so I was I agree with my buddies. It was a bit short the session, but they helped me with the tagline, so I will share with you all.
Okay, you can. Do you want to tell it?
Oh, sorry, I saw the you need to share your screen.
Oh, you don't have to share your screen. You can just say what your tagline is.
Oh, okay.
Can I help you? Well, or start, and you can think on yours.
Yeah, I already did it. So I will just copy paste it.
So can you read it out loud, your tagline?
Yeah. Well, so because I been studying programming the last 3 months very intensively in a boot camp. I learned lots of things. So I put in my tagline the before it was all programming languages that I've been learning in the period of 3 months. I put all of them there listed. So that was the before. The after is something that makes me to stand out from the rest of my classmates and people that puts the languages that they have knowledge of in their tagline. So I put, instead of putting the languages which any company or recruiter can see in my summary, for example, or in my education. Then instead I put software engineer with a digital marketing background, and then another phrase separated with a hashtag, user experience is at the foremost of my priorities, and then available for hire.
It's a really nice one. I like the word self-worth.
Which word?
The word you started with. That was self-worth?
Yeah, software engineer with a digital marketing background. User experience is at the foremost of my priorities because I'm really into, if you're gonna use an application, it has to have, for example, a sign up feature, right? So you are gonna be happy, available for hire from September 2020 because I'm looking for my first job. So I know it's quite difficult, but I'm very positive.
Yeah. So there's already coming some feedback for you in the chat. Please start sending it, and you can read it. is there anyone else very shortly just saying his or her tagline?
I would like to do it.
Who is it?
Amira, can I do it?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Amira. I am from Egypt and I work for a cybersecurity company. So I would sort to write as I am passionate about helping enterprises to secure the digital business environment from advanced threats.
Nice. So you used the word passionate. Is that your superpower? Is that your talent?
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Keep that in your tagline. Really nice. And see for some feedback in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
So guys, we already crossed the line of the time I had to tell you about this. I will finish it up. I would love to answer all your questions. You can add me on LinkedIn. I can help you with answering some questions you might have. I will hand you over to some of my lovely S3 colleagues, Margot and Anne-Marie. See if they are ready to go. And I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you all, and good luck with your careers. And don't forget to bless your talents.
Thank you so much, Irene. And yeah, as we're switching over to Margot and Anne-Marie, keep your comments coming in terms of, if this is triggering some new inspiration for you, keep jotting them down and maybe you'll get some more feedback from the colleagues that are on the call today. So Irene, thank you so much for your session. Anne-Marie and Margot, over to you.
Yeah, sorry, we just are gonna put the right slide in place. So Irene, thank you so much, and we're so blessed with having you in our company and coaching and developing all our female and male population and inspire them with your story. So thanks very much. Should we do a quick introduction of ourselves before we head off? So my name is Anne-Marie. I'm a business manager for one of the big brands within S3. I work for Real Life Sciences, and I'm responsible for the Netherlands business. And one of the things I'm very passionate about is gender equality. And we will come back on that later during our presentation.
Hi, quickly introduce myself. I'm Margot. I've been in the business for a long time, having different kind of positions. So I joined actually as a recruiter when times were a bit different than they're now. I've been lucky enough to be developing Europe from a client perspective. So I've been pretty much working on the client side within our business and now moved into a leadership role in the Benelux, Spain and MENA region. And I'm mainly responsible for client development, but took on some tasks like engagement as well as diversity and inclusion, which obviously is one of my passions. And I'm really proud to be able to be part of this session and hopefully help you a bit further in your career and help you develop yourselves. So hopefully you enjoy and learn a lot from these sessions.
Yeah, so we will start. So thanks Irene and Harry for the good stories so far, and good to see that you're already practicing your talents. Because in this session we would like to take you to the next level of define your story and how to sell it. When Margot and I were asked to share our thoughts around this, we were thinking, okay, how can we contribute? And then we came to the conclusion that the thing we do for a long time is selling our candidates. So we're really gonna walk you through how you're gonna sell yourself, and some of them will come back to the interview process, and some of it will really come back how you sell your competences or your talent. So the first slide is all about, oh, sorry. I'm gonna do it like this. That's easier. So the first thing that with selling yourself is really about preparation. Preparation, I think, is always key if you want to come across in a good way. So if we prepare people for job interviews, we also always ask them the following thing. So where do you go? Do you know which company you're interviewing with? Do you know the location of the company? Do you know which department? Maybe they have several buildings or another entrance. Is it a formal or an informal culture? And that comes back to the last part. What do you wear? You know, if when it's formal, you dress pretty formal. When it's a little bit informal environment, you can maybe be overdressed if you wear your suit. And what about traffic? Did you drive or cycle or use the public transport before? And do you know how long it will take you to come there? Then we go to the hiring manager. Who are you speaking with? Did you check their LinkedIn profile? Do you maybe know people who are working there? And then the big part where we will be talking about today, what do you want to tell them? What do you want them to know when you walk out the room? Do you know your competences? Do you know your skills? And do you know your knowledge? And what's the difference? Also really, really important. And so what do you want them to know? And what do you want to know about them? And does the company fit you? Also, I think a really important thing, we spoke about authenticity. Is this the right company for you? I also heard some questions to Harry about are you in the right company? And then the last one is practice and appearance. So practice what you preach. It's sometimes difficult if it's all in your head to say it out loud for the first time. So just practice a couple of times. Just tell your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, your children, your parents, tell them what you want to tell the interviewer. And sometimes it sounds very obvious, but look people in the eye. When you're speaking to people, just make sure that you're aware of your appearance. So really, in this time, it's difficult shaking hands, but find a solution for that when you come in and make eye contact. And of course, what you wear, I already mentioned that before. So one of the, I hope this is all clear for you. One of the methodologies used in or during an interview, but also in defining or telling your story is the STAR method. I think you probably all heard it before in your careers, how it works, but we do want to address that this is a pretty important method and a good way to define how you can tell and sell yourself. So first you tell the situation. So what was the situation you were in, or what do you want to tell us? What was your tasks in this situation? What actions did you take? And what were the results? What were the results of the actions? And sometimes there's also an extra R afterwards for reflection. What did you do and how will you do it differently in the next time? So we will come back on this one later on.
So what we find very important for you, all of you, is to walk away from this session and really feel that you can, after the session from Irene, you can go back and look at your LinkedIn profile and make sure that you know what you're passionate about, because I strongly believe if you're passionate about it, it will work. So I think what is key for you as well is to understand what you can use to make yourself look at the best. So it's important to know about your knowledge, it's important to know about your skills, and it's important to know about your competencies. And most of all, it's important to understand how you can use this in the STAR method and actually give examples. So knowledge is a theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. So it's acquired through learning and experience. So knowing how to bake a cake, it's as simple. A skills are the proficiencies developed through training and experience. So practice or learned behavior. So having baked and cooked skills or practice in baking. So something you've done. So skills are linked to actually the expertise. Then we go to competencies. And that is something that's linked to your behavior. So how often have you used your skills into practice? So the competencies are really important when you tell a story, that you're able to tell and show what you've done. So please be aware and go back and think about what are your skills and what are your competencies and how can you use it to actually sell yourself at the best? Because often we find that people actually talk about their skills and not so much about the competencies. And Harry was referring to it, personal is power. So what is your competency? Some people can have skills, but if they're not able to use it and have the right behaviors, it's not really a power. So one of the things we would advise you is to really look back and really make sure, look at yourself, reflect, and see what the skills and competencies you have. So with this in mind, we would like to do a little exercise. So we've got a vacancy. We would like you all to read the vacancy so we can do it together. And then when you've read the vacancies, what do you think the person who's applying for this job should highlight? So it's a senior project manager. Is responsible for the business concept to the final product. Can't read it all because our pictures are in front of it, so I just need to move a little bit. For a specific segment of our 15 consumer-facing websites or affiliates worldwide. These segments are defined from acquisition through engagement and finally retention. With a data-driven and premium brand approach, the role is focused on managing the concept, development, and design of the specific segment and coordinates a diverse setup of digital communication functions. Working closely together with the content team, the creative team and IT, this role is an essential orchestrator to set up the brand identity of own digital touchpoints. So what we would like you to do is think about what this person should highlight when applying for this job. So what we would like to do is just put in the chat some of the comments that you think this person should highlight when applying for this job. So think about the skills and competencies we've been addressing, and think about if you would apply for this job, what would you highlight?
And use the chat box for that.
Do you have the person's story or background?
We actually would like you, besides the story, because obviously there is a person, a link to it, but we'd like you to look at the resume and what kind of things should this person be linking at. So obviously it will be different from people with different backgrounds, but if you look at this, what are the things the company would like to see? So I'll give you a heads up, working closely together is some of the things that a company wants to see. And what we would like to ask you is what kind of competency or skill would you then put forward if that would be something that the company is looking to see in the role. So I get your point, and it is a bit out of the box thinking, but look at the profile and think about if a client wants to see this, what kind of competencies or skills could we then put forward?
So Anna Marie, maybe to give an example of that, because I see some great examples coming through. So working closely together that you were highlighting, maybe the person would say, I'm a strong collaborator, for instance, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't really work always with others. So he has to have a balance between working with others and also being able to work independently, I believe.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So he will not be working with the team 24/7. So he will have to have a balance between knowing when to reach out to the team and work with the team, and also when to be able to work independently.
Yeah, great. And if you would think about a competency that would link to this, how would you, because that's a competency to know what to do when, would you be able to describe a competency?
Oh, the name of the competency? It doesn't really come up to the top of my head, but maybe related to analytical skills or organization. So you organize your time, so you plan your team meeting, for example, to work together, but also you plan your own time and you leave enough room for your for your tasks to be completing so you can report to the team as well. It's like working in a group, right? You have common tasks, so you also have independent tasks.
Yeah, so there could be organizational skills, planning skills, but also sensitivity. So being able to sense when you need to step in and when not. And maybe if we just go back, so what do you think to highlight just to, it's not moving anymore. So put some, there we go. So just maybe to recap, because I understand that sometimes it might be, it's good to just make sure that when you look at this, that skills are based on expertise. So when you've got something, you've learned abilities that you can explain, have a story about, but to make sure that it lands, you can also show that the behaviors and the knowledge that leads you to be successful in the job. So the how. So your example, I think, was really good in terms of organizational planning. You need to be able to make sure that it's all done in time. The competency would be how you've done that and how you can lead to be successful in the organizational planning and give examples. So going back to the STAR method, and I think going back to Irene's story and even going back to Harry's story, for me, this all interlinks with knowing what you can do, have stories, and then know how to put that forward in the right way. So a true story, be strong, be very personal, and make sure that you've got examples to show it. Is this clear? Because understand for us, it's something we do on a daily basis, but please do ask any questions if it's unclear. I think for us, the most important thing is that you start look at yourself and start defining what your competencies and skills are.
Anne-Marie, yeah, can you hear me good?
Yeah.
I do have a question, and it's more related with how can you just narrow the principal things? Because I have this already for a while happening in my life. I'm basically recruiting and looking for vacancies. So so far everything is a little bit slowly because I blame as well Corona and that stuff. But I had already the chance to pursue some interviews, but I found out as well that I have an issue maybe to just talk too much, to maybe give too many details, you know. And I mean, it might be that you have already this clear storytelling and you are good at it and you feel that you are good at it, but if you give as well too much details, then I think something is happening. And of course, most of the people around it, they are not giving you feedback of what you did good or not for your next interview or chance. So I think it's important to really determine this STAR method for your own and for what you want to say, but as well to keep it really, I don't know, simple.
Yeah. Do you know by any chance why you start to tell a lot of details?
In cases when, for instance, the question is too personal, maybe.
Okay.
Or when it's something related with educational background, for instance. Perhaps the recruiter is really interested into IT or technology terms or technical terms, and I don't know, I just feel like in those sort of things my vocabulary can just go and go and go and go, and certainly certainly I just get lost in the conversation, I think, or that's the feeling I have at the end of the
Well, you're not the only one, because I see
Definitely not.
Nina now sending a message. How do you find the balance between adding your personal story and keeping things brief?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not the only one. Maybe that's the first step to accepting that it's okay and be aware, and then you can start working on it.
I am not sure if that is the case, but it's really hard because I also understand that or at least in this case, recruiters they are not obligated to give you feedback, and they should not give you. I have asked, and so far from the feedbacks I have asked, I haven't received not even one.
Okay.
So I think that it's something that recruiters keep it for their own. I understand it's a business as well, but yeah, I mean, I think it's not just storytelling, or of course it helps you to be more you, to present more as how you are, but to give that next step between, okay, did I give my storytell good? Did I fail in something? Something is missing, and that is a part I have like issues with the STAR method now. Like, okay, I don't want to extend more, but yeah.
I think what really helps in this case is the preparation. A lot of times we think, and I'm not sure if it's that the case, but it was definitely for me when I did interviews in the past, is that I just thought, okay, I know myself, I know my story, I'm going to the interview. And then I found out that when they ask for examples, I was struggling. And then I thought, oh, what do I need to tell? And that made me very nervous. And then I start talking. I'm gonna talk very fast, as you maybe mentioned in this call as well. So when I decided what I wanted to tell, what I matched with where are they looking for, and how am I gonna sell myself on those particular points. And that was actually what we were trying to teach during this vacancy. What we brought up in the slide before is, what do you see in the job description, what is really important, so that you can pick it out, and then you can prepare yourself for the interview by preparing several competences, so that you can pick the ones you think are suitable for that moment. And that really makes a strong story during your interview.
And just to add, I think when we were preparing this, there is so much that we could share, but we want to keep it simple, because obviously you want to walk away with some clear actions you can put into practice. But the things that we have been discussing is, you should not have one resume, because each job that you're applying for might require different things. And it's not even the people you speak to. You really need to find out what these people are doing. So when you're applying, you really need to do research on LinkedIn, what that person's job is, the experience from that person. So you know, if someone from a specific background, you use certain language, which you've been familiar with, instead of other things that you want to put forward. So I think it's making the selection what puts you out there best, and you need to understand your audience. You need to understand, we call it sell back to them. So find out the needs, and then sell back to those needs.
Yeah, sell yourself to the needs.
Yeah, these are great points. And Anna-Marie and Margot, I'm afraid that we're running a little bit out of time, and we still have one more keynote speaker to get to. So what I might like to suggest, if you'll just finalize your thoughts on the conversation. And there are a lot of questions in the chat right now for both of you. So perhaps when Jeanette comes on, you could answer a few of the questions in the chat quietly, and then we can move on to Jeanette. So maybe just wrapping up your line of thoughts.
Yeah, so we'll just go to the last slide. We had a few questions here, but we skipped those. So the conclusion would be to prepare yourself. That's crucial. Give examples. It's about know yourself. It's about strengths, competencies, skills. What are your skills? And then be aware of who you are, how you come across. And just one example I want to give, because it's not so much linked to women in tech, but it's linked to, it's a personal note from myself. It's a story which stuck with me and has helped me a lot in my career. So it's a story about little children. They're playing knights, so they're on a horse, and they've got this ring they need to pick. And boys, when they get off the horse because someone pushes them, the boys, they get back on the horse because they want to win the next game. And what's shown is that the little girls, they were going to cry because they were pushed off the horse. And the whole thing within the story is like, get back on your horse. And no is a starting point of where you want to go. So for me, that really helped, because when I got no's, I just turned away and I just thought it wasn't going to happen. And after this story, I literally thought, I'm going to get back on that horse and I'm going to do it. So that will be a final thought for me, is like literally no is a starting point. Make sure that you go on and get back on that horse. So good luck, everyone. And Cara, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much. And in fact, I'm going to introduce our final speaker for tonight. And this is Jeanette Harvey. And Jeanette, if I may immediately just give the microphone to you so that you can share your beautiful story with all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cara. So I have the pleasure of finishing us up for the day. A little bit about my story. 15 years ago, when I was 23 years of age, I interviewed with S3. At the time, I had no idea that sharing my story would have the power to change the course of my life. I spent days preparing for my final interview with the organization with a mixture of giddy optimism and intense fear. I wasn't interviewing simply for a recruitment role. I was interviewing to become a founder of the North American business for a publicly traded company. I was quite literally pursuing the famous American dream. That was intimidating enough, when in truth, I felt woefully underqualified to be sitting in the interview seat. But had I known what was at stake, that this job would be the reason that I would leave my home, family and friends in England for good and live my life for the next 15 years in America, where I would meet my husband in Chicago and have a little boy that would one day sound nothing like his mother. Had I known that adventure awaited and I would get to travel the world with this company, I'd meet some of my dearest friends and generate wealth for myself that would transform my life. Had I known I'd find so much fulfillment in building businesses for the organization, and it would set me on such a path of personal and professional growth. Had I known all of that, I probably would have blown it at interview. But fortunately, I didn't have the luxury of a crystal ball. What I did have was the foresight to understand that I didn't have a traditional profile to land this job. So I needed to think beyond the job spec to work out what was going to be really important in a startup environment, to show that it was a strength and an edge to hire someone who brought something very different to everyone else. Naturally, I led with my previous experience and results. I'd already accomplished a lot during my short career. But beyond simply communicating my results, I understood that startups fail and many people are unable to handle the ups and downs of that. Growing up with very little, I understood better than most what it meant to work for absolutely everything that you wanted. And I already had an arsenal of examples to demonstrate, both personally and professionally, that I was resilient and I could overcome setbacks. And I shared that. I understood that both interpersonal skills and a healthy dose of creativity would each be essential to founding a new business in a virgin territory. Again, I was ready with examples and case studies of how I had built and leveraged relationships with senior people in my previous role. Not an easy thing to do when you're in your early 20s and you've got very, very little credibility. I could also impress my future boss with stories of my creativity that reinforced that I could be an asset. 15 years later, the business that I co-founded in North America employs 350 people and generates close to 300 million in annual revenue. It's been an incredible journey to get to this point, and I got to be part of it because, number one, I put in the preparation to understand first what is important to share about my story, and secondly, I was brave enough to tell it. Owning and sharing my story authentically from very early on in my career set the stage for storytelling to be a big part of my future success. Human connection has been at the center of everything that I have built my career on. First as an executive recruiter, and second in a senior leadership role. I've consistently been able to establish authentic and meaningful relationships with others. One of the most powerful ways I've been able to do that is by intentionally relaying human experiences to both establish and strengthen that connection. That is storytelling. When I look back to my career as an executive recruiter, storytelling was about encouraging others first to share their story, first with me, but then together we would share it with others. For candidates, stories differentiate you. They bring your experience and competencies to life. For hiring managers, it becomes about telling a story that allows you to differentiate your opportunity from the rest of the market, particularly important when there is a clear war for talent. When I first moved to New York in 2005, I was establishing myself as a headhunter in an extremely competitive and demanding space. I was finding and connecting talent in the banking and technology world. I was working with some of the world's most prestigious investment banks, trading firms, and hedge funds. It was a challenge. But when I sat back and understood how the market worked, I was struck by how transactional it was. The hiring managers gave narrow descriptions of the skills and experience they were looking for. The job spec was often written in a very uninspiring way, and it was the job of the recruiter to go off and find the right candidate for what was often a very generic spec. I was an excellent recruiter, but I was not transactional. In fact, I was an excellent recruiter because I wasn't transactional. I leaned in on my natural curiosity and vowed to always find out the story behind both the candidate and the job. And that is what differentiated me, and I credit it in part for my success. I always wanted to find out people's why, because the why is what leads to the story. The why is how you get to differentiate yourself. Why are you passionate about technology? Why have you been so successful in your career? Why do you want to make this next career move? For managers, why should the top talent in New York want to join your group? Knowing other people's stories, their values, their why, it meant that I could make the connections that nobody else could. It meant I could add real value. For example, when my client at a prestigious investment bank told me about a groundbreaking new group that he was excited to build from scratch, he had a very clear vision about the person he was looking for. It made sense to me. I understood his why. However, it was his sincere belief that this technologist had to come from within the industry. Me, on the other hand, I already knew the perfect candidate. He was a brilliant and smart technologist, but he was not working in the banking industry. He was actually building space technology. How did I connect the dots that this candidate was the candidate? It was because I'd bothered to ask his story, and he had taken the time to share it with me. I'd been absolutely fascinated by the work that he was doing around space technology and how he had journeyed there within his career. I understood his technical skills, and we'd spoken at great length around how that could translate to the financial space. That part is extremely important. You have to be able to translate your skills and experience to your target role. You cannot expect someone else to connect the dots for you. So understanding this candidate as I did, it was not a risk of credibility on my part to tell my client I had the perfect candidate in mind, but guess what? He doesn't have half the experience you've asked for, but he has so much more beyond that to offer. My enthusiasm and passion for the candidate secured him the interview, but he was the one who told his story. He owned his experience and translated that to his potential for the role. He got the job. 12 years later, he's got a very illustrious career within banking technology, and he's achieved some incredible things. So sharing our story authentically during the recruitment process is clearly important. But it's also important that even before that happens, we are comfortable with owning our story, that we've connected with it internally within ourselves. This ensures that we make intentional decisions around our next career moves, and that comes from a courageous place rather than a fear-based place. One example comes to mind to illustrate that point. I was introduced to a brilliant leader, Leah. She had some very impressive roles within banking technology and had a clear wealth of experience to bring to any organization. However, Leah had a sizable career gap on her resume, and her solution was to re-enter the industry, get a job below her pay grade, just to get her foot back in the door, and she was going to rework her way back up. Sometimes that's necessary, but in this case, it's clear that it wasn't. Any organization would have been lucky to have her. During our discussion, it became apparent that Leah was afraid to play full out because she was afraid of rejection. She'd been so successful in her career that the idea of not succeeding was so uncomfortable for her that she preferred to play small. We worked together on how we could share her experience with the market and how she could own her story authentically, even using her career break as a selling point. Leah aced her interviews with the first company that I put her in front of and walked right back into a senior leadership role at a leading investment bank, all because she took the time to first understand her story, which included admitting what she was afraid of, and then taking the extra time to decide how she was going to authentically own her story. As long as she was censoring her story, the story had power over her. In taking control of that narrative and how she was going to present it, Leah took back control and took back the power over her own story. The final area that I have witnessed storytelling to be of huge benefit is, unsurprisingly, within leadership. Over the course of my career with S3, I established many different businesses and territories within our portfolio. Currently, I oversee our largest brand in North America, which is Real Staffing. We specialize within life sciences. In addition to that, I serve on the board of directors for our US business. I moved through the leadership ranks at S3 by building real connections with my team and peers. I had a strong value system that was a huge part of my personal brand: passion, excellence, integrity, vision, respect, and humility. These values were a huge part of my identity, and I communicated them in part through stories. It helped me to build a collaborative and inclusive culture within my business. As a leader, is it always easy to own your story authentically? Absolutely not. Did I ever get a crisis of confidence? Yes, I absolutely did. For example, when I looked at the dynamic of our executive leadership team in the US, and I sat in my seat on the US board, I couldn't help notice when I looked around that I was the sole female and the only minority. In recent years, S3 has done a great job around diversity and inclusion, which means this is no longer the case. But at the time, I was in the only club, the only woman in a senior leadership role and the only person of color in a senior leadership role in our business. My leadership style was very different to my male counterparts, and sometimes it's hard to own that difference when imposter syndrome rears its head. I watched others do a terrific job of building their personal brands and specifically leverage the power of that to manage up. In other words, they use their personal brand to get ahead. When I saw that, I subconsciously leaned away from doing the same thing. I started to confuse managing and leveraging your personal brand with self-promotion, and I did not want to do the latter. I reasoned with myself that perhaps I should just allow my results to speak for themselves. However, as we've learned today, that's not how the game works. Once I realized this and regained focus and confidence, I became very intentional about my personal brand. And it was a great moment when I connected the dots and realized there was actually a subset of what I'd been doing unconsciously throughout my whole career. Building my personal brand as a senior leader was exactly in my sweet spot. It would mean owning my story once more and using that to establish a human connection with others. But I would need to evolve the way that I did this. My leadership values would continue to be a huge part of my personal brand, but I would also need to convey a more holistic view of my personal brand, specifically as a senior executive. That means experience, expertise, competencies, actions, and of course, achievements. Those elements together created my personal brand. Your personal brand should never stay stagnant. It should continue to develop as your career does. With my personal brand in refresh mode, there were so many benefits. It brought a surprising number of new opportunities my way, both internally and externally. It was yet another chapter of professional growth for me. So in conclusion, we all have a story to tell. The reason that we often find ourselves reluctant to share our stories is because we think that nobody will want to hear them. That is the story we tell ourselves, but it's not true. Storytelling is the gateway to true human connection. Everyone has a story, and storytelling has the potential to change lives. Owning my story authentically changed the course of my career, and it can change yours. We simply need to be curious enough to want to hear the stories of others, and most importantly, brave enough to share our own. Over to you, Cara. Thank you.
Jeanette, thank you so much. I'm giving you a big thumbs up, and I see people saying clap and wow, and what an incredible and powerful story, Jeanette. Thank you for sharing that. Could we do just a very short reaction from the audience? What did you just hear? What stuck with you, and what will you take with you?
It was quite inspiring to me, the fact that she had the interview with someone from this company, and she prepared so well, and she was not afraid of bias, for example, because we are all biased when we are not white. So I really find that difficult, because obviously South American people also, we feel also like a bit biased with white people. So I really find her very brave, and I'm learning that from her, that now I will go to every interview with like, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karen, for unmuting yourself, and others are also commenting. So Micah, do you want to just tell us the comment that you've put into the chat?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I thought it was really, really amazing story, very much to the point, and I will take it with me to never give up on a dream, to never think too far ahead and get lost in it, and to prepare like there is no tomorrow.
Yeah, oh, great summary, Micah. Thank you so much. And Sophie Acker, what was your comment here?
Yeah, I think for me, two big takeaways is you need to dare daring. And I think a lot is just us not believing in ourselves and putting ourselves forward. And the second is that we're stronger when we are our real self. And as Jeanette said really well, first you need to understand and know your real self before you can build your story around it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sophie. And as a last comment just for now, and then we'll be wrapping up for tonight, Christina also had a comment. Would you like to unmute yourself and just share that thought verbally with us?
Hello. Sorry. Yeah, I just find it for myself really hard to stand alone as a woman in a group or in a workplace. Sometimes I really have strong imposter syndrome. So when you mentioned that you were like alone as a woman and alone as a person of color, and then you still managed to be so successful and then to be power through this situation, that's like a really inspiring thing to her, to see that not giving up and learn from situation can actually bring you to your goal and to sometimes unexpected heights. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Jeanette. And there's just beautiful comments. Teresa, also thank you for your kind words. What I'm going to do is transition us to the final moments of tonight's session, and to just share my screen with you one more time. I'd really love to thank all of the speakers who are here with us tonight. So Harry and Jeanette that we've just heard from, Margot, Anne-Marie, and Irene. really thank all of you for your incredible insights. And I think many of us, I know for myself for sure, I'm going to go away with some deeper thinking about how I tell my story. And I really appreciate those triggers that you've given to me. I wanted to just offer an opportunity to the audience. If you had a final question that you wanted to ask to any of the speakers, this is your chance. And we'll take maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll be wrapping up for tonight. Is there anyone that still had a question while you have the chance to speak with any of these 5 incredible speakers here tonight that you wanted to ask at this time? Okay, I'm not hearing anyone with any final comments or questions, and that's fine. So what we are going to do is we have a very short poll that we would like to just walk you through answering 3 questions for us. And I also do have a request. And so what I want you to think about is in our next course, so coming up next, we will be talking in October about your passions. And the start of that program is going to be 3 of you who have been with us through this evening, who are becoming role models, to share with us your learnings in a 3-minute presentation. So for those that may be with us today that plan to rejoin again in October, we will hear from you first in the next session to help us open the session, to reflect on what we learned about our purpose and our presence. So I would look for 3 volunteers from the audience, and those that would either want to unmute themselves or put it into the chat. I would love to hear from you. Who is willing to volunteer at our next session?
I'd like to.
Karim, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Who else?
Hi, Cara, I can go too.
Who's I go to? What's your name?
Suraya.
Suraya. Okay. Thank you, Suraya. We will be in touch.
I would like to volunteer too.
Is that Adriana?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was having problems with my mic, but I can volunteer for the next session.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adriana. So,
but they didn't hear me.
Do we have one more volunteer? So is that Anka?
Yes.
Okay, so we will draw the line there. So Anka, you just made it in over the line. Thank you very much for your willingness. And thank you, ladies. I will be in touch with all 4 of you for our next session. So I wonder, Zenka, if you might be able to help us to run the polls that we had here at the end of the session. So we want to just check in with all of you to see how this learning session was for you tonight. Zenka, are you able to help us with the polls?
Of course. So let's start with polling number 1, transferable skills. I'm just launching the poll, and please give us your answers. Thank you very much. I hope you can all see the screen. Yes, we are getting some more results.
Yes, I can see it.
Great. So we have now 45 out of 52 voted. That's great. And I think the numbers are not moving, so maybe we can close the polling and share the results.
Okay, and does anyone, so Anna-Marie or Margot, Jeanette, anyone would like to make a comment about the results that you're seeing?
We don't see any results.
Okay, Zenka, can you share the results?
Yeah, well, and the polling, hopefully we can see the results in all of us.
Okay, yeah, great.
Can you see them? Share results, I'm doing it just right now.
Okay, so most of the people agree or strongly agree, so the transferable skills are clear.
Okay, and any final comment or reflection on the importance of the transferable skills?
I think it's important to keep on reflecting, because within your career, you learn, you develop. So keep on reflecting on those skills. So don't take it as something which is done and dusted.
And they can change over time.
Yeah, yeah. Great, thank you. And Jeanette, did you have any reflection on that as well? Or Irene?
No, it was great to kind of hear from everyone. It was really great, I think, to have basically a process for people to really be able to kind of take back and sort of reflect on and kind of make work for them. It's just been really, really great to be a part of, and really great to see the impact that it's and the value that people have found.
Thank you, Jeanette. Zenka, should we try the second poll? And maybe either Harry or Irene could make a reflection on what they see in those results in just a moment.
We have 38 out of 46. It's not moving, so I'll end the polling right now. And share the results. There you go.
And what was this topic, Zenka?
Yeah, this topic was, I feel more confident in sharing my story as a result of this session.
Okay. So Harry and Irene, what are you seeing there? And do you have any final reflections on this feedback from the group?
Well, I think it's always good that we see that people get more confident, because that apparently we could inspire some elements. I think, the net is that what we try to do today is to, first of all, give you a kind of framework, some charts that you can fill in, quote, quote. Yeah, that's fine. Secondly, all the speakers alluded on the fact that if you can give personal stories, personal experience, and if you dare to do that, it's important if you dare to do that. And then the final thing is, how do you inspire people with your stories? That's a trick. It's not a trick. It's inevitable. That's the way it works. So to me, always the key thing is what happens after this call. Because I believe there's always two choices in life, Cara. One is you see things and you simply let go and say, well, blah, 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 or you take action. So I really hope that this group takes action. That's my hope. Thanks.
Great, thank you for that final nudge, Harry. Fantastic. And
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, please.
I would really like to stress that this is only a small piece of the search for your talents and what you're good at. This is not something that goes overnight, creating your story, thinking about your authentic thing. It is also not something you have to do alone. There are a lot of coaches that can help you with this. And most of the time, we don't even see our own talents that clear, but other people can tell us very easily what it is. So if you want to do more with this, go in search for a coach that suits you, and figure this more out for yourself, because this is not something you create overnight. So don't try to let it be your goal. Just see it as some first steps into another personal strategy.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Irene. Really important that you say that. Thank you. Let's do the last poll, and that will be then the end of the evening. If you would help us with that, Zenka, let's run one more poll.
Launching the last one, and this is, I took away key learning that will help me progress my career in tech. There's your cat, Cara, right behind you.
Yes, it is. She almost made it.
Yeah.
And what is the theme of this? I'm asking these questions too because I can't see the poll at all as a host role, so I have no idea what you're seeing on the screens this whole time.
Sure. Okay, I will repeat one more time. I took away key learning that will help me progress my career in tech. So let's, well, of course, learn something and progress a career in tech.
Okay.
Do you see the results? No, because I haven't stopped yet, but I will do right now. And share the results. No, I'm happy with the results. I will share them. So the result is that most of the people agree, 58%.
Okay, so any of the panelists and just your final reflection on what you see here and any comment that you'd like to make on this topic.
The one thing I want to add, I saw the questions in the chat box, and a lot was about how to and that it didn't work and that kind of questions. But I do think that feedback you get after an interview from others, it's something which is their opinion, and it can be very important to listen to it because you can learn from it, absolutely. But remember, when you're not hired or whatsoever, it is their opinion. So don't let it blow you off or just don't let it stop you. If you really believe that you need to be somewhere in your career, just go for it and don't let it stop you, because feedback is, people always say it's a gift. And I think if you use it the right way, it is a gift, but it is also an opinion from someone else. I think that's really important, and just keep going.
Yeah. Thanks, Anne-Marie. I think that's a really powerful comment to help us end on. In fact, part of it is the language we use as well, right? And we have this word feedback that not many of us really like to hear. And actually, I prefer to use the word perspectives. So when you're offering someone your perspective, then that automatically tells you, well, it was just my perspective, you know, and you can take with that or from that what you want. Because feedback is always feeling so like confronting. But when it's the perspective, then you can decide what you want to do with that information. And I think it's really important to remember that. And as you say, keep pursuing your goals. So thank you everyone for tonight. Thank you once again to all of our speakers for tonight. I learned a lot and really enjoyed hearing from each of you. And I thank all of our participants also for your active engagement with us. That really made this very lively and really made it fantastic. So thank you all for that. I look forward to seeing you in October and at the future sessions that we'll be running throughout the rest of this year. So thank you very much. Let's become the role models we want to see. And I look forward to seeing you in October again. Thanks everyone, and have a nice rest of your day or evening ahead.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Cara.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.